Hi, this is AWANI Review and joining me Cynthia Ng. On this episode, I have with me Lee Ching Wei. He is the founder and CIO of iMoney. Thank you so much, Ching, for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, first of all, you were the CEO.
Yes.
So let me start with that. And now you are the CIO. So what happened there?
It's been quite a journey, if you like. We started the company in 2012. I was one of the co-founders back then, and this was after spending 8 years in Australia, having done a lot of the finance related, sort of stuff. So my past life, I was a financial advisor. I used to advise people with money what to do. It was fulfilling, but it wasn't, my cup of tea. When I decided to come back in 2012, I wanted to do something a lot more meaningful, right? Something that impact lives a lot more. So this idea came about partially because, like returning residents, you need things like credit cards, savings accounts. So I actually spent a lot of time going online, trying to research for the best product. And so the consumer pain point was there, and I was connected to my co-founder then, and that was the original, sort of team of iMoney, right? So we started in 2012, grew the company, did a lot of things, which we'll talk about, raise funds, expanded into markets, fortunately attracted the right investors. And in 2018, we got acquired, so that was one of our key milestones. And it's by a company called iSelect from Australia, so kind of full circles. They invested in the company firstly in 2014, saw the growth and was confident in the management team and decided to go into majority control. So as part of that, my role transitioned back into a more of a founder type role that leverages a lot of my strengths. So I hold the title today, Chief Innovation Officer. Essentially what I do, apart from innovating, is really working on the stuff that's exciting, the stuff that can deliver the big impact for the company over the long term. We now have a seasoned CEO in charge of the day-to-day operations and business, and we work well together as a team as well. But yeah, enjoying my role very much. Also, obviously, you mentioned as well, I just became a father. Well, I say I just became, but it's been 13 months. And starting to learn how to juggle that, sort of personal life, but also career.
Well, so for people who do not know about iMoney, I know you guys have been around since 2012. Can you just tell us briefly about what exactly you guys do?
Yep, sure. I guess in a nutshell, iMoney is, so we do three things. We educate through a lot of the content that we generate, especially around personal finance topics. We also help consumers with product applications. So things like credit cards, personal loans, choosing the best product that suit your needs, right? And the last thing we do is we create a lot of tools that consumers generally would find useful, things like budgeting tool, tax calculator, and a fairly recent one, credit score, which allows all Malaysians to check their financial health or credit score for free. So that was released a year and a half ago, and we've been doing a lot more work on that. A marketplace helping consumers make intelligent decisions on money matters.
So banking, online banking, for instance, in Malaysia has come quite a long way. Information is quite literally on your fingertips now with mobile banking and all that.
Yep.
So what kind of added value that iMoney brings to consumers? Because does it serve as just a place to share information,
Yep.
or is there more to that?
No, it's a good question, and it's because of the fact that information is online and so accessible that we find confusion among consumers, right? So, and picture this, back in 2012 when I came back, banks have websites, banks put up information on the web, but it was such a painful thing to do as a consumer to go through that exercise of finding that one product that's suitable for me, right? And I think today it's even harder for someone on the street to really understand what credit card, what loan, or what products is best suited for their needs, right? And there lies the value of iMoney. We don't just put up information. We don't just create that calculator or tool that lets consumers compare. We actually take the extra effort to try and personalize our advice and solutions, right? So today, if you come to iMoney, we would ask you a few questions about just generally, let's say you're after a credit card. Why do you want a credit card, right? What sort of income do you have? How is your spending habits, right? And we even run call centers in each of the markets that we operate, where you can speak to someone who's well-trained and an expert in their field that will further advise you on the best product that suits your needs, right? And I think that's critical. It's products that suit and personalize for you. And for certain banks, we even go through the journey of helping you with your application, right? So it's not just come find the best product and then go off and do things on your own. We actually take the trouble to help you with the application. We would connect you to the banks. We would do follow-ups. We would ensure that you actually get an approved credit card or personal loan.
So all these services are for free?
Absolutely.
So
and more.
That begs the question, how do you make money? What is the revenue model?
So really simple, we don't believe we should charge consumers. We make money by successfully connecting you to a provider and helping you with a product recommendation, right? So whenever you obtain a personal loan through iMoney or credit card through iMoney, then our partner banks would pay us a referral fee, and that's how generally we would monetize our traffic. We also make some money through advertising and sponsored content, essentially helping banks reach out to audience that we believe could help with their product and services.
Okay, so would you say the portion of that is higher than from advertising sales?
Advertising is a material part of our portfolio, but a lot of our revenue would have come from transactions, mainly helping consumers obtain financial products.
Okay, so I'd like to find out then the growth of iMoney since 2012, and in terms of traffic, in terms of, you could even share your presence in, not just in Malaysia, I understand.
Yep. So maybe a little bit of history as well. So we started out in Malaysia. First year and a half, primarily a Malaysian-based business. But a few things happened. We obviously got successful. We were successful in obtaining and attracting capital that allowed us the field to grow. But we also started to see the problem sets that exist in other markets, right? Specifically countries like Indonesia and Philippines, where a much larger population is what we term as the underbanked or unserved. We thought, hey, if we could do it successfully in one market, why not also leverage on the capabilities and the learnings in other markets and continue to also impact lives, right? So we started expanding, I think, into Indonesia and Philippines back in 2014, 2015. Initially, obviously, a small setup, but grew the team on the ground. So today, we have offices in both markets. Collectively, we have about 220 employees, thereabouts. Half of them reside in Indonesia and Philippines. They run different websites, so we believe in having very tailored solution to the local market. So in Malaysia, absolutely. In Malaysia, you could come onto iMoney and receive content and look at our product recommendations in both English and Bahasa Malaysia. In Indonesia, it's all in Bahasa Indonesia, and in Philippines, we even have certain parts of our website in Tagalog version. Right? The growth has been great. It's been a very good run and fortunate. So last year, 2019, we finished the year with 30 million visits. And that's critical right now. And one of the proudest moments, I think, is about impacting lives. And the fact that we touched 30 million lives last year. So people don't come to iMoney for fun. People come because they believe they need either content or education or product. And the fact that we could help that number of people makes me proud. So
30 million across 3 markets?
Across 3 markets. And I think obviously the growth has been gradual, but year on year it's been between sort of 40 to 50% throughout the last 8 years.
iMoney is one of the few financial comparison portal that compares financial products and services. You have the likes of Ringgit Plus and Loan Street, at least in Malaysia. So how are you different to these guys?
So very important, use the word financial comparison. iMoney is more than just a financial comparison website. And I think it's important to differentiate that key point, right? For us, it's about how can we empower consumers to make intelligent decisions on money matters, right? And we do this through also content. the content section of our website, or we have a learning center section that houses thousands of articles, teach consumers not just about products. So we don't, of course, we have write-ups about credit cards and personal loans and insurance products, but it's also about how you manage your money, right? How do you file your tax returns and take advantage of certain key items in your tax returns, right? Private education, what do you need to look out for, right? Retirement planning. So a lot more holistic personal finance recommendation and topics that I believe puts us in a very different category. I think the other thing is also the philosophy that we have. It's all about the consumers, right? We want to make sure that we are impacting consumers and making their lives better, right? So everything we do is along that line. So that's why our website's free and the tools that we create is free. You could come on and obtain a free credit score, in our Malaysian website, and you can't get that anywhere in Malaysia. We provide advice in both English and Bahasa, again, trying to be as accessible as possible. We don't try to encourage or incentivize you to obtain or apply for financial products. So we don't do gifts. We don't, come up with essentially mechanics that encourage you to apply. Again, it's back to, making sure that it's the right product for you, right?
In that sense, you work with a lot of partners, advertisers who sometimes are financial institutions.
Yep.
How do you maintain your transparency?
Yep.
And how do you keep to be unbiased?
Good question. A few ways. I think we believe that it's our duty to also advise and educate a lot of the financial partners that we work with, right? And I'll give you an example. If there is a particular bank that comes to us and offers us, a much higher referral fee than other banks, but we find that the product's not suitable to the audience that we have and the consumers that come to our website, we would tell them that, right? We would advise them and we give them, I guess, visibility of why we have that position. Our call center, which is a primary means of helping consumers apply for products, they don't get visibility of the commercials that we have with the banks. Their compensation is not tied to provider, so they get paid the same irrespective of what provider that they recommend. Even our listings and our content is unbiased, so content team have full rights to write up articles and products without the influence of our commercial team. And as much as possible, we want to obviously lift the top, right? And so ensuring a trusted and unbiased approach to consumer recommendation is the only way you could continue to add value in their lives, but also improve the ecosystem, right? So if we can encourage banks to improve based on the data points we see, then it's better for everyone.
It seems like content is a big portion of what you guys do at iMoney.
Yep.
Are there plans to move into something else, maybe a larger media content producer? Or what is it do you have in mind for iMoney in the coming years?
So we view content as an effective, so it has been proven to be an effective means of achieving what we want, which is financial literacy, right, and improving the financial literacy amongst the consumers. Which is in line, in fact, in Malaysia. Obviously, the Malaysian government has announced the financial strategy or financial literacy strategy last year. And we view content that way, so helping consumers basically educate themselves, but also taking action. So it's not just about just reading and understanding, but taking action through content. I think in terms of evolution, I think we don't foresee becoming sort of another content house. We view it as part of what we do to empower consumers, right, in making decisions on money matters.
So in terms of growth prospects and your target would be to grow traffic and presence then, for now?
I like to think of the lives that we can impact. So traffic, of course, is a key measure. But also just how many people we successfully help in obtaining financial products, how many people we successfully help in obtaining visibility of their financial health through credit score, number of people reading our website. So there's a few internal metrics that we as a company track to measure success. But yeah, ultimately it's all about the consumers.
Okay. Now, and of course to help people to be more financially literate,
Yep.
So let's get to that. What are some of the biggest misconceptions in Malaysia about financial literacy?
Yep.
It is relatively low, judging from the number of bankruptcy cases that's on the rise, people getting into big pile of debt. So
again, kind of relate to what we do as well. We find that people still sometimes view financial products like credit cards and personal loans as a negative or bad instruments. And that's one of the misconceptions is it doesn't mean having a credit card or personal loan is bad for you. In fact, if you use it wisely, and the key word is wisely, right? You could actually better your financial well-being. So credit cards, as you know, banks do offer decent cashbacks and rewards, which essentially would allow you to make more of your money versus cash, right? So if you use it wisely as a consumer, then you could actually benefit from it. Having credit and being responsible for it and for right reasons as well, so not consumption or consumptive reasons, could improve your credit score, which again helps you with achieving sort of better financial health that allows you to unlock loans in the future if in the event you need things like a mortgage. So that's one, just generally that perception of credit products. I guess another one which I find, again, this is more prevalent to the younger population. I think just retirement planning is meant for old people. I think that's, again, we would like to always encourage people to start early, starting as young as possible, because it's much easier to put away small sums of money over a longer period of time than to play catch up when you're 40 or 45, right? Yeah, those are probably the two big ones. And maybe one last one is, and this is one of the reasons why we launched Credit Score as well. People not viewing financial health as something to monitor on a regular basis. And I like to always point back to your health and your medical conditions, right? More people tend to do annual checkups to measure their health and ensure that they're all right from a cholesterol level perspective. But people don't do that or do the same for their financial health, right? And I think and this is one reason why we made Credit Score available for free, is that we want to encourage more people to take serious note about their financial health. We want people to be doing their annual or even quarterly checkups and just understanding how they fare in the eyes of the banks, because sometimes you'll be surprised, and if you don't have a good credit score, at least you could take actions to improve it.
And why do you think that financial literacy is poor in Malaysia, among Malaysians?
It's a difficult, I don't think there's been one factor that generally contributed to this. And there's been a lot of research around, maybe it's the education system, maybe it's the awareness, maybe it's the attitude, or maybe it's just, innate in Malaysia. So I think generally from our perspective, when we started iMoney, one of the reasons why we also launched our content section very soon after is because we didn't see enough parties trying to improve financial literacies of consumers. I think we were probably still the only one until recently that publishes good personal finance topics, right? And not until recently, and last year, that the national sort of strategy on financial literacy was launched, right? And so I think that is probably one factor, and we are thankful and we're excited that this is changing now. I think just generally more parties are now involved. So we learned recently that obviously AKPK are a lot more active in helping people who can't meet their debt. EPF has also released a lot more awareness on essentially helping people with retirement planning service. So they have a free retirement planning service that you could go and obtain. So a lot more of these efforts by different parts of the government definitely will help, and probably not as much of this in the early years. Yeah. Well,
speaking of early years, when iMoney started in 2012, I think fintech wasn't even a...
It wasn't even a word.
It wasn't even a word.
I know.
So you guys are somewhat dinosaurs in the startup scene in Malaysia.
8 years will put you in that territory, yes.
Well, let's talk about that. When you first started, you came back from Australia, probably a difficult decision for you. What was the journey like? What were some of the challenges that you faced?
Sure. So it wasn't really a difficult decision, and I'll tell you why. I think there's always in that in my plan to come back to Malaysia, and I always viewed Australia as the stepping stone for me to gain the overseas experience and corporate experience that I need. I think when I started iMoney, it was on that mission of, as I said, impacting lives, right? Because what I did before, and I tell this sometimes to people, when I was an investment advisor, I was trying to help clients improve a decimal point, right? So they made 8.1% last year. I'm trying to get them to 8.5%. So it's not quite fulfilling. I mean, of course, it is rewarding from a financial career perspective, but it doesn't ultimately impact lives, right? What we do at iMoney is very different, and one of the reasons why we kept going despite the challenges. In the early days, the big one was awareness and just credibility and trust among consumers, right? So here we are, a small startup and small website no one's ever heard of, trying to convince people to essentially use us as a service, right? Obviously, it took a lot of time, and it took persistence and determination amongst the team, but just being true to what we believe in, right? Which is to give powers and essentially helping consumers, and continuing to invest time in educating just generally the public has helped us overcome these. I think as a startup founder, you probably heard this before as well, you go through multiple challenges as you grow a company. So I would have had to navigate things like fundraising, making sure I attract the right capital, recruiting and retaining talent, figuring out org structures and processes to manage a team of 200 people, and different points in times, obviously managing crisis from a business perspective. But I think what really helped us is that North Star, right? And that's why our mission and vision stays true the whole time. If we can create an offering and impact lives and help consumers, and obviously, with good fundamentals, we'll get there. Yeah.
What's next in terms of growth for iMoney across the 3 markets you're in, and are you planning to expand into other countries?
Yep. So we don't plan to expand to other countries as yet. Of course, things might change in future, but today I think we like the markets we're in. We believe there's still a lot more we can do. For us, I'm going to point back to what I said multiple times, right? It's staying true to our vision. We want to continue to do the things that could help enrich and empower consumers when it comes to making financial decisions. That means expanding on our content, expanding on the products that we offer, doing a lot more PR and awareness on free tools like credit score, encouraging more people to come and apply and understand their financial health. So that's big on our agenda. I think pushing the digital adoption agenda is also quite big in what we want to do. So both, actually consumers, providers like banks, but also the regulators, encouraging generally the ecosystem to be more digitally savvy, so doing things online. I think it's in line with our long-term direction of trying to essentially make lives easier and more efficient. We also believe things like product application should be done not across few days but instant, but there's several steps we're going to go through. And yeah, continue to create one of the more fun and rewarding workplace in Malaysia.
You have quite a big team, as you can see right behind us.
We do. Yeah, we're running out of space now.
Well, there's certainly more buzz in Malaysia regarding financial literacy, as you've pointed out earlier. In light of this, what kind of trends or maybe even disruption do you foresee in this space in Malaysia?
So you're right. I think especially in the last 18 months, there's been a lot more new technology or new regulations around financial technology companies or fintech companies. So a few trends that we have seen happening and we believe will continue this year. One is responsible lending and responsible credit consumption. So Bank Negara, we believe, is going to be the one leading this, in trying to encourage more people to be really careful with the need for credit, right? So we believe that it's okay to take loan if it's not for consumption reasons, right? So not taking a personal loan so that you can buy a computer or go on a holiday, but taking loans for productive reasons like starting a business or helping with emergency situations, right? So we believe this trend will continue, and therefore I think even from a credit tightening and lending perspective, this would probably impact the banks. We do our part through content and education and credit score to encourage people to make sure they know, that loans have a negative side effects if it's not done properly. We also see a big trend in a lot more alternative digital companies and providers, specifically in the space of investments. So you probably have heard the term robo-advisors, P2P lenders. I think today consumers have a lot more options to invest in their money in multiple different fintech strategies. So robo-advisors basically breaks down the investment ticket size to very bite size and just generally much cheaper fees as well. And so that encourages investments generally in people. Same for P2P lenders. You now have the ability to lend money to a business without being a bank, right? So that's one trend. I think financial literacy we talked about. So the government obviously announced the national strategy. So we believe there's a lot more work and parties that will be involved in promoting the financial literacy agenda. E-wallets, probably another one that we're starting to see pop up everywhere. And obviously recently with the government announcement, there's been a surge in usage. I think we believe that obviously the adoption of e-wallet is good for the economy. Now challenge is, can it be sustainable? Right?
I noticed that you guys do not write on cryptocurrencies or digital banks. Is that something that you're looking at in the future? Because that seemed to be the direction that a lot of consumers are heading.
So I believe we do have some articles around cryptocurrency, but I think the way we look at it is, I think if we believe that it would impact a lot of lives and just general public, then we want to obviously educate and write about it. The digital bank space is exciting. It's changing. Bank Negara obviously has put out news that they would be looking to award up to 5 licenses, and we are closely watching that space. We believe it's actually great for consumers. It offers more competition amongst just generally the financial service providers. But no, I think this is definitely a space that we're watching very closely.
All right. Yeah. Well, sounds great. All the best with your plans.
Thank you
so much for coming on the show. Thank you for talking with me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.